Hey guys, wanted to make a quick video on balance areas, what they are and why they are useful, and kind of why they are formed. So first off, to understand what a balance area is, this is on the TPO, something that will look like a bell curve. So we would see something like this. So what we have here is we have majority of volume in here, or majority of time spent. If it's a TPO or market profile chart, we have taper on the edges as we are fading off on both the edges. And then we'll normally have a prominent point of control. And right here, this would be like the value area high, and this would be the value area low. And so what I like to think about is to explain this, and kind of a good way to understand it, I'm going to draw a graph. So here I would say this is the price axis, and then down here is the time axis. And I'm going to give an example of a PlayStation. So some people use different examples try to understand this, but let's think about a PlayStation. If you think about what does a PlayStation normally cost, let's say a PlayStation normally costs $500. All right, so 500, we have 400, we have 600, and so let's say 500 is kind of the accepted price. This is what PlayStations normally go for. This is kind of what is the kind of like average price almost. And then you could say, okay, 400, that's where things are really cheap, and 600 is where things are getting a little expensive. So if you think about this over time, what will end up happening often is majority of transactions are going to be happening here near where what we would call fair value. This is where everybody kind of accepts that this is kind of like a good price. Everybody kind of agrees on price. And what will happen once we get somewhere near 600 or 400 is, right, we're going to have less transactions. They're going to be very sparse, a lot fewer than you would have at 500. Same thing here. As you get a little bit cheaper, you still may have a decent amount of transactions, but once you get closer to 400, you'll have a lot less. And right at 400, a lot less people are willing to sell it for 400. Maybe if somebody was in a hurry to sell it, they may drop the price so that they can sell it immediately and very quick, but there's not many transactions happening there. And same thing at 600, not many people are willing to buy there. Lots of people may be willing to sell there, but buying kind of shuts off up here, and selling kind of shuts off down here, as people don't want to sell for cheap and people don't want to buy for expensive. And so if we squish this down, what will happen is this will create something like a bell curve. And that's kind of where you get the idea of a balance area. We have tapering off here at the highs and tapering off at the lows. And so for that time being, we can assume this is kind of a more expensive price. This is a kind of cheaper price. This is kind of where price is more accepted. This is more like fair value. And if you're a trader, right, you are looking to buy and resell. So if you think about it, where do you want to buy, right? You want to buy as close to 400 as possible. And this may be more difficult, but you would want to buy on this lower end here, right? This is going to be where the value area is. Same thing with the high. You're going to want to sell up here if you want an advantageous price. And so if we know that this is cheap and this is expensive, this can kind of give us a good framework to work around when we're trading, to try to enter positions here if you're going long, enter positions here if you're going short, and either sell for somewhere here in the center or try to take it to the other side. Now, this is just very important when we are trading the markets, though the market dynamics may change and the market may move, and expectations and different news can move the market. So if PlayStations, for example, say, okay, we aren't making any more, there's a lack of supply, what will happen is we will usually move up and try to find another area of value. And then we can kind of establish what is cheap and what is expensive once we create some sort of balance area showing where majority of price is getting exchanged and where people are not willing to exchange at. And that's pretty much it. I hope that helps kind of understand a little bit about balance areas.